So the Fiio Ft7 comes with gold drivers. This headphone is honestly really amazing. These gold drivers, I'm going to compare it to another gold driver headphone. This is my Hyphen over here. This thing also has gold drivers. Honestly, gold apparently, according to them, makes it sound a little bit more natural sounding, and it gives it a little bit more of like a smoother type of sound. So as you can see, this Hyphen itself actually has a completely gold driver. It's kind of crazy. While the one on the Fiio is a little bit more of a dual plated, I guess, type of design. They kind of took the gold drivers from the front, and then they actually have silver drivers in the back. And these drivers are supposed to be optimized for the, I guess, the more natural type of bass sounds from the gold, and then the treble, I guess, is better from the silver side. So they kind of optimize for two different designs. It's a very interesting type of design, and I really kind of like it. Honestly, this headphone sounds amazing. It reminds me a lot of, honestly, Hyphen headphones. It has that kind of mid-range dip a little bit, but it actually filled in just slightly more than an average Hyphen headphone. And it honestly sounds really detailed. I think these are one of the most detailed drivers that they honestly have ever made. Honestly, I think it competes with honestly the most detailed headphones out there. It is very, very good. The bass, the sub bass itself is probably one of the most impressive things about this headphone, but the build quality of this headphone is also, I think, the thing that a lot of people are going to be attracted to it. So this uses actually a zebra wood. So as you can see, this gold driver, but also this nice kind of finish they have on it. They have this nice clean, I guess, wood that is honestly, it's not the natural wood, but they actually have a coating over it. It makes it look nice and sleek and smooth. It looks super premium. You don't really see this very often on any headphones, I think, with honestly at this price range. I think it's like somewhere between $900 and $700 depending on when you get it and where you get it. But this headphone looks amazing. I think that's one of the things that people will like. But beyond that, it actually has carbon fiber. So if you look at this, even the kind of the jack where they connect the headphones is carbon fiber, but this whole entire thing has this carbon fiber finish around it. On top of that, it also has this kind of carbon fiber headband as well that just add to its kind of aesthetics. I feel like it gives this thing such a nice premium look that you don't really see in a lot of headphones. It makes it kind of look unique based off just the build of materials. But in some ways, some people would consider this headphone a mini Susvara. I mean, if you put the Susvara side by side, honestly, the driver looks very similar. Even the grills look very similar. The headband looks very similar. Obviously, the materials that they use here is different, but even if you put it on a graph of the tuning, it also kind of looks kind of similar to Susvara. Not exactly the same. They do definitely have their differences, but it just reminds me of the Susvara in a lot of ways, especially like I said, with those type of gold drivers. It's just very similar. If you don't know what Susvara is, it's basically like a $6,000 kind of Hyphen headphone. I mean, I think their new one went to $8,000, the unveiled, that doesn't have any like gold. I mean, this just doesn't have any grill or anything on the back. It's just like a raw driver out in the world. But yeah, continuing on the build quality, honestly, these pads that they come with feel like real leather to me. Maybe they are, but they feel like real leather to me. They're very premium, very soft. They feel very nice. And then coupled with this headband right here, they also have this kind of, design where it kind of hangs off your head and kind of conforms to your shape of your head. And it's actually very nicely padded as well right here with this nice soft, like almost, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a cloth, but it feels like a little suede type of look. And then this leather headband on top with the logo right here. I mean, I think overall, for the build aesthetic, this reminds me of like thousands of dollars worth of headphone. This is like top-notch quality. Like, I don't think the build quality really gets better than this, to be honest. And then this yoke right here is also very nice. I do think this extension thing is a little bit tough to move. I think the benefit is this headband won't be moving without you unintentionally, but like I gotta like push very hard to kind of move it. But I feel like over time it's gotten a little bit more loose and a little easier to use, but sometimes it gets stuck and I got to push pretty hard. But I think the good thing about this design is, like I said, it won't accidentally move since it's so tight. Now this thing actually comes with two different pads. So if you actually look over here, we have, I guess, this cloth pad material, and then we have the fenestrated design. So this has the holes on the outside and the inside of the ear pad. And honestly, I personally like this one in the sense that I feel like it sounds overall better with the mid-range kind of push forward. But I do find that the cloth ones, because the treble isn't as forward sounding, it's not as bright sounding on those one. In certain regions, it's less bright, but certain regions I feel like it gets slightly more bright. I feel like the cloth one will be a little bit more of a smoother listening experience. So I think more people will probably gravitate towards a cloth one. But I feel like if it wasn't as bright in the kind of fenestrated leather, I think it technically sounds better in this form. In my opinion, the treble just sounds a little bit more balanced to me in a sense of like it overall being at the same level. Maybe it's a little bit too bright, but like it sounds a little bit more natural to me in general. Now, the other cool thing, like I said, about this design is these pop off really easily. You can literally just go in here and just kind of pull and it just comes off and you can see the driver, which is really nice. They actually have these double kind of pins right here, so make sure that you don't put your ear pads on the wrong way, which is an interesting design. But yeah, it's pretty easy to replace these pads, and I actually kind of did a whole entire modding thing that I show you for fun, just to like try stuff out. But I was thinking like not everyone likes a lot of treble. You can actually take like a foam, so this is like a Dakoni foam. They sell these like attenuation kits I can link down below if you guys are interested. But essentially, I actually made this a long time ago for a Dynamic video, but you can just put it right here, and then you just put the pad on right here, and it kind of just goes right behind there. So you can test different type of foams if you really don't like a bright headphone. So it's a very interesting thing, and it's very easy to kind of put on. Now, the funny thing is I thought about that because like, I figured this is actually the brightest headphone that Fiio has ever done. And this is their Fiio Ft7 Pro, which I'll also compare it. This one is just a little bit more, I guess, smoother sounding, right? This thing definitely is not technically as impressive as the Ft7 by Fiio, but this one is a little bit more smoother sounding. And I think one of the reasons why is if you actually take the pad off, right? This is they actually have this foam already pre-installed on this right here. So they're using this to kind of attenuate the kind of treble frequencies, but they didn't do that for the Ft7. So I think the Ft7 sounds a little bit brighter. And so if you like, you know, a more smoother sound, you could just put that in there. But, you know, for me, it's not really a crazy thing to put a foam back there because they've done it in their previous designs, right? So I think that kind of leads us to be talking about sound, right? So I have, I guess, all the FT planar headphones here. The first planar headphone is actually the FT5. This one is really nice. It's more of their first kind of run at it, and they made a headphone that was very warm and bassy, so it has a lot of bass. The treble is very well controlled. It will never sound too bright sounding. And this headphone, honestly, is pretty bassy. You're not going to get as much of a natural sound and a lot more kind of smooth and warm sound, but it was really good and very fun to listen to. It reminded me more of like the older like Odyssey, like LCD2 type of sound where you can just listen for a long period of time and chill. But then in the Ft1 Pro, I feel like they did improve the overall design. The sub bass and bass is just itself extends a lot lower. Maybe there's less bass quantity, but it has better quality and extends a lot lower. So I actually think the Ft1 Pro, even though it's like, this is the 5 and this is 1, I actually think this is better sounding than the 5 in my opinion. And this design also had much better treble, sound a lot more like resolute, but it never got too bright sounding. And then this one also has a little bit of like a mid-range dip that was kind of reminiscent of like a lot of the older Hi-Fi, kind of like closer to like this one, which is the HE6 SEV2. But this one actually has a bigger mid-range dip. I actually prefer the mid-range on the Ft1 Pro. It sounds a little bit better. I also prefer the sub bass of the Ft1 Pro in comparison to even the HE6. It just kind of has a better, deeper sub bass quality, I guess, to it that it has. So I think the Ft1 Pro is really a very good headphone, and it's only like $200 on their lineup. And, you know, going to the Ft7, which is, I guess, their next planar, so it went from 1 to 7. This one is honestly just outclasses the Ft1 Pro in the sense of detail. The sub bass goes even lower. Like, I honestly don't even hear much of a roll off on the sub bass. If you're listening to like the deepest EDM, you'll hear like all the way down with like the highest quality. It actually sounds very similar to a subwoofer. It has a slight lift in the sub bass. It's not too much, but it definitely has a little bit of lift. And the bass itself is slightly bumped up. It's not like completely linear, so it gives the bass a little bit much more of a, I guess, fun quality to it because you get a little bit more quantity compared to other kind of planar headphones. So I feel like the bass quality and just the deepness of this, it stands out a lot. I think this might be one of the best sub bassing, like, I guess, planar headphones I've ever heard. I honestly think that it is better than the FT1 Pro, and obviously the HE6 is honestly a really good headphone, but I feel like it's worth saying that like the gold drivers on this and the design of the HE6 is a little bit old. Like I personally, like some people might disagree with me, but Hyphen has made a lot more newer headphones since the HE6 SE, and I think they made the drivers thinner and better performing. They sound more detailed, quicker, faster than even the HE6. Like I remember comparing it to even the Susvara, and I thought the Susvara had almost a snappier, faster type of detailed sound than even HE6 in some ways, at least in the bass like performance. But the HE6 is still a very detailed headphone, but there's almost this like extra level detailed quickness that the new Hyphen drivers have, that even I think the FT7 also has, that, you know, I think the HE6 does get a little bit outclassed here, but they are actually a similar price point. And the other part about, I guess, this headphone is the mid-range. I think the mid-range of this headphone is very, very good. It's very forward. It's a little bit push forward actually in comparison to even a lot of other headphones, which I think gives it a lot of extra detail from like a lot of male vocalists really pop in. The female vocalists pop a little bit more extra on this headphone that I really do enjoy a lot. But then this, you know, I guess the upper mid-range of this headphone is very, I guess I always call it the Hyphen like mid-range, but they have this kind of dip which makes the vocal sound a little bit further. It gives it, a lot of people say it gives it a little bit better sound staging effect to it, but it's not very that noticeable. It's like a very small dip in the grand scheme of things, and it's more reminiscent of the newer Hyphen headphones, more like the new like Anandas, the Arias, even the Susvara have not that much of a dip, and it's more in line with those. So it's actually very impressive. Like the funny thing about this headphone is like, because this headphone is kind of, I won't say it's neutral bright, it's like slightly bass boosted, neutral bright, it can almost be slotted like into like the Hyphen lineup, like, and people probably wouldn't know the difference, except that the build quality is a lot nicer looking, I guess, in my opinion. But it's a very similar sounding headphone, so I feel like a lot of people who like those Hyphen headphones will really like the Fiio. And then when it gets to kind of like the treble of this headphone, it is a little bit bright, so I would say that's the warning I have for people who are interested in this headphone. This is a, you know, a bright headphone in some ways, a slightly bright headphone. So if you're not into too much treble, maybe it's not the headphone for you. However, I know I actually tested foams, because I know some people are like me too, where, you know, a little brightness, you can actually get rid of it with the foam as well. But that's just something I would say is something to watch out for. Some people actually like the brightness, like a lot of like, I would say like, it sounds similar to like the Hyphen Ananda from memory. Like the Ananda sounds very similar. It's similar brightness to that. It's not as bright as something like the Aria Organic by Hyphen or the HE1000. It's definitely a lot more well controlled than those headphones. So I think it's not too bright in that sense, but it is slightly bright headphone. And then I feel like the treble quality on this is really, really good. I feel like the treble detail on this is excellent. Like obviously I think it does sound overly airy in some ways though, because I feel like the extra treble in the higher regions do kind of come off a little bit more exaggerated. It's still a very detailed experience, and I feel like the combination of just this really nice bass, good mid-range, and this treble that's very detailed, this headphone just comes across as very, very clean. Like I was emphasizing earlier, I feel like when you're listening to, like, honestly, a lot of EDM music actually sounds very, very good on this. Like I said, the bass is very good, but you get a lot of clarity that you just don't get with cheaper and especially dynamic headphones. Just don't even compare. I feel like even the cheaper Planars, you can just tell how much more detailed this is. Like I said, the FT1 Pro is a good headphone, but this one easily can outclass it. If you just listen to it side by side, you can really tell the improvement that they made on the detail and the clarity level of this headphone. So it's honestly really, really impressive. I think a lot of people are gonna like this. I mean, I honestly kind of want to call it a mini Susvara, to be honest, because you get this really nice build quality, a similar type of tuning, and similar type of, I guess, aesthetic design type of stuff. So it kind of is like a mini Susvara. So if a lot of people who like that type of sound are really going to enjoy this. All right, so let's also talk about soundstage and imaging and gaming performance, right? So essentially, I play a lot of Marvel Rivals, a little bit of Valorant to kind of test the footsteps and the location accuracy of this. I found it to be honestly pretty decent. Nothing better than like an angle driver headphone though. So I mean, you could use it for gaming. It's a little bit bigger but honestly, it performed fine. I find the actual like imaging performance to be decent. The soundstage to be actually really good. I mean, this is a much bigger type of driver. This thing has 106mm drivers, so you can imagine that the sound really goes around you. So if you want a very tall sounding headphone, this one honestly does it really well. I think it competes pretty closely to a lot of those bigger, I guess, HiFi headphones too. It is definitely a bigger soundstage, and I do enjoy that aspect of this headphone a lot too. So if you're kind of looking for that, I think this one will be a good option. The other thing that's actually interesting about the design, right, is that because this thing has, you know, carbon fiber, it's trying to keep a lot of the weight down and make this headphone not as heavy. So if we take a look at the weight. So weighing this headphone, it weighs 447 grams, so it's pretty lightweight. So you can see the build quality is pretty high while maintaining a very light weight. That's the thing I kind of like about it. I mean, my HE6 right here with, I guess, one of the grills kind of showing. This thing's 503, so it's a lot heavier, a lot more weight. The new Abyss, I guess, Joel is a lot lighter too. They kind of are similar in optimizing weight. This one's only 403 grams, 404 grams. So yeah, it's on the lighter side of a Planar, and it's more closer to the weight of something like an AirPods Max, I guess. So it's not bad. So this cable undergoes, I guess, cryogenic treatment with liquid nitrogen, and this is supposed to, I guess, get rid of the impurities and make it more conductive. But honestly, I found the cable to honestly sound just slightly better than your average cable. So I feel like the actual cable sound, the quality is actually a little bit better. Whether you believe that or not is up to you, but I definitely hear just a slight improvement, honestly, over other kind of conventional cables. A nice little case with Ft7. Wow. And then we got some adapters. This nice kind of Fiio case they use in a lot of their headphones, but a kind of more premium version of it. Powering this headphone, I mean, honestly, most amplifiers work on it. I didn't really have an issue. I did have to turn them up a little bit more, I guess, than I usually have to, but nothing too crazy. It's a pretty efficient headphone. The actual, I guess, summary of this headphone, right? Like, should you get this, should you not? Like I said, if you don't mind a little bit bright headphones, this thing is built really well. It looks really good. The actual quality, the resolution on this is top tier flagship level. Like, you can listen to a lot of, you know, really expensive, really high end headphones, and this one will definitely compete and compare against them. They honestly do really well. I mean, in a future video, I'm thinking I'm gonna do a planar, like, kind of, I guess, comparison between this and a bunch of other planar headphones. So you guys definitely want to subscribe to not miss out on that. But honestly, this is a wonderful, wonderful design by Fiio. You can tell they put a lot of work into it. Like, honestly, the zebra wood itself on this is the thing that I like the most. It just stands out. It feels so nice. Honestly, there's other headphones that I've felt before that have wood that don't even feel this good from other companies. And this thing is just, it looks so nice. Honestly, build quality wise, they really kind of knocked it out of the park. Sound wise, quality, the sub bass, especially in the bass region, I think a lot of people are going to enjoy that, especially if you're into like more of the kind of bassier genres like I am. I think this headphone will really surprise you. A lot of open back headphones don't have good bass. A lot of the popular ones people like, especially the dynamic drivers, really don't do that well. This thing easily just destroys them in terms of resolution and quality down there in the lowest sub bass and bass notes. It really, really is quite impressive. I feel like that's what separates, like, honestly, good headphones from the everyday average headphones, is how well it can play the sub bass for an open back headphone. And this one definitely delivers in that, at least that metric. And then the other part is, like, I don't know, planar headphones to me just, honestly, they have so much better clarity resolution compared to just the traditional dynamic drivers. Like, the treble of a planar headphone to me always sounds so much more accurate, cleaner, and clearer sounding than any dynamic headphone I've ever heard. I think that is true for this headphone as well. So yeah, I think I definitely recommend this headphone for, honestly, everyone if you're really into it, unless, like I said, you don't like bright headphones. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to do this planar headphone smackdown comparison, so you guys don't want to miss out on that. And I'll see you guys in my next video.